Greetings, Netscape navigators and internet explorers. Welcome back to another week of Influence with me, Matt Silverman. Thanks for hanging out. It is Wednesday, my dudes and dudettes, and this is probably going to hit your feeds a little bit later than usual, but it's been a busy week here, prepping for some upcoming guests, working on some other projects, other podcasts that I'm pretty excited about. Very eager to share that with you very soon, and bring you up to speed about what's coming down the pike for this very program. But first, I think this is going to be a controversial statement, but I just feel like I have to get it off my chest. I have to say it out loud. And I'm sorry if this makes you uncomfortable or if this makes you, unsubscribe to the podcast. But personally speaking, I just think fascism is bad. That's just me. This is my point of view. It's just how I was raised. But where I'm from, I just think that fascism it's just a bad idea, and I don't recommend it. And I just honestly not a fan. Not a fan of the old fascism. Because, when you look back at the other times when we've had fascism, it's not good. Not good. Now, here's the thing. As a straight white man, I'm doing great. I'm going to be just fine. But everyone else I know, all the people that I love and care about, is going to not be good for them. So let's stop voting for that if we could. That'd be great for me. If we could stop choosing fascism, that would be a good choice. So I hope you're doing okay. Hope you're hanging in. I hope you are honestly just not looking at the news or listening to the news. I was thinking about this morning. I was like, I miss NPR. Not because it's gone or because they're doing a bad job. It's because I can no longer listen to the news in the morning. I can't do it. I've unsubscribed from many of the default subreddits. Not because they're not doing the Lord's work. They are sharing and publishing people are discussing very important topics of the day, but I cannot open my Reddit app to check on, what's new, what's coming out for the Nintendo Switch, and then see the headlines about other things. So I've removed that. Or I've unsubscribed from a lot of digital things that I've traditionally been a part of my media diet. I have stopped listening to the radio. And here's the thing. There's good news and bad news, right? On the one hand, we are descending into a fascist hellscape from which there may be no return. On the other hand, today, they announced that they're putting seahorses into one of my favorite video games, No Man's Sky. Right? So I think no matter how you look at it, I'm coming out ahead. The Worlds Part 2 update to No Man's Sky, which is a space exploration game that used to be very bad in 2016 and now is amazing. And I haven't played it for a long time. But they keep adding amazing updates. And I said, you know what, I'll wait and see what the next update is. And this time they added a lot of cool new planets and features and exploration. And then they added a lot of underwater creatures, and they added, literally, it's like the patch notes are like, oh, we got all this terrain generation, we got all this new lighting, we got these water effects, and we got base building systems now, blah, blah, blah. And then one of the chunks of the patch notes is like, and we added seahorses. And I was like, I'm back in, baby. So while I am pretending that everything is fine in the world, I will be exploring purple class solar systems with the gas giants and uh, miles deep underwater trenches filled with seahorses and perhaps alien squids or something. That's my plan for this week. Also, to finish Baldur's Gate 3, I believe I am one doorway. I am one more combat encounter away from the final battle. That could always change. I don't know what's in store for me once I walk past that next threshold. But I do feel like the team is assembled, the allies have been gathered, and we will hopefully take down the horrific threat to the Sword Coast this week as well. So that's what's going on here. And mostly I want to update you that my conversation with Jason Kingsley, who is the creator of Modern History TV, which is just a delightful and wonderful YouTube channel about medieval history. And he also happens to be a very successful the CEO of a very successful video game developer called Rebellion Games. So he's been at it since 1992, making video games and publishing comics and all sorts of nerdy things. So he's a very successful business person and has been knighted in the UK for his, I don't know, economic contributions to the country, something, something. And then in his spare time, of which he has none, I believe he's also a dad, he makes these really in-depth videos about medieval history. And he owns horses and he owns medieval armor, and then he practices jousting, and then he explains to his audience like how the armor feels and what it's like to wear armor in the cold. And he goes into all the history and does a ton of research about like what if you were a traveler in medieval Europe? What would an inn be like if you went there? What would you be drinking there? Who would be in charge of the inn? What were the laws like? It just like these videos are so great. They're so authentic because it's just him wearing a cloak and a helmet and then just like standing outside of a medieval building, and he's like, "Here's all the research I did." He was, as expected, absolutely delightful. I'm very excited to share that episode with you. That will go live next Wednesday. So stay tuned for Jason Kingsley. The man's name is Kingsley. Kingsley, and he's from the UK, and he's a knight, and he does medieval history videos. Like, I don't believe in destiny or that the stars predicted that this man would do this, but come on, man. He's the most British person you could imagine, and he's delightful. Tomorrow, which is Thursday the 30th of January, I am really excited. I'm speaking to a woman named Mallory Knodel. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I was watching some videos. I think it's Knodel, Knodel. She works with, let me say this. She is an activist and an advocate and works with a variety of organizations. So I will disentangle the tree, right? The nodes of all the organizations that she's involved with, but notably the Center for Democracy and Technology in Washington, D.C., and basically her entire career focus, as far as I can tell, is how can we ensure that we have human rights and civil rights in the digital age, and how can we protect those rights in an age of corporate controlled internet media, just oceans and oceans of disinformation and misinformation. I assume, things like ethnic violence and hate, like all this stuff, which we cover here a lot. But the reason I am so excited to talk with her tomorrow is because you may have seen this. I don't know. Maybe it's just the news circles that I travel in, or the social circles and the newsletters I subscribe to. But this organization called Free Our Feeds, which is freeourfeeds.com, got a lot of buzz right after Mark Zuckerberg was like, we don't need trust and safety on our platform. We don't need fact checkers. We don't need moderation on the platform because free speech is da bomb. I'm paraphrasing Mr. Zuck's words, of course. And then he also said some shit like, oh, this company needs more masculine energy. Like, literally was like, hey, bro, we need to bro out, free speech for all, no safeguards, nothing, Facebook forever. I don't know what. It's just such a fuck face. And this is in the wake of all these tech companies kissing the new administration's ass. Let me rephrase that: licking the boots of our new fascist administration by donating money and attending inaugurations and changing policies and removing all DEI and whatever. And so, here's the thing. So many people, regular people who are aware of this fuckery, are doing their best, our listeners and community and myself included, to say, you know what, I can no longer use X/Twitter anymore because of Elon Musk giving a Sig Heil Nazi salute at the inauguration of Donald Trump. Little shit like that. And then Zuck doing his shit and whatever. So it's like, hey, man, we really fucked up the social web. It could have been great. These could have been tools that just connect people and surface like relevant, positive content instead of descending into these algorithmic hellscapes that put profit above everything else. And so there were a lot of these little buzzy headlines that were like, hey, this organization is trying to raise $30 million to remove control of social media from billionaires. And I was like, click, let me see what this is all about. And it's an organization called Free Our Feeds. And I'm just going to actually, if you go to freeourfeeds.com, it's a basic webpage that's just like, here's our mission, here's what we're trying to do, and here's the sort of like a board of, I think they say custodians. It's not really directors because this is not a for-profit endeavor. I don't really know. I'm going to ask Mallory about the structure and who's involved. But it's a variety. It's really the who's who of sort of internet privacy and democracy and security, trust and safety type people. Authors, advocates, speakers, and people like Mallory who are highly engaged and educated in this type of work. So I'm going to read you, if you just go to the website, you're going to see this, but here's their mission statement. With Zuckerberg going full Musk last week, so this was a couple weeks ago, we can no longer let billionaires control our digital public square. Blue Sky is an opportunity to shake up the status quo. They have built scaffolding for a new kind of social web, one where we all have more say, choice, and control. But it will take independent funding and governance to turn Blue Sky's underlying tech, the AT protocol, into something more powerful than a single app. We want to create an entire ecosystem of interconnected apps and different companies that have people's interests at heart. Free Our Feeds will build a new independent foundation to help make that happen. This isn't just about bolstering one new social media platform. Our vision offers a pathway to an open and healthy social media ecosystem that cannot be controlled by any company or billionaire. Join the movement to liberate social media. And obviously, can I get an amen? But also, so many questions. I am not an expert. I have many questions for Mallory, but the AT protocol and ActivityPub, I think, are technological frameworks for, and forgive me if you know better than I do, please correct me in the comments or send me a message. But like, we're talking about federated social media, decentralized, but not in a crypto bro kind of way. I think the idea here is that if we share an open protocol, then I can sign up for a Blue Sky account on your server, or I can sign up on I can create a Blue Sky account on a self-hosted server or on a separate server that my friend runs or whatever. But your Blue Sky and my Blue Sky can communicate because it is federated and open. Like the web. Nobody owns the web. I can use Netscape Navigator to view a web page, and you can use Internet Explorer to view that same web page, and it's the same fucking web page. And we can talk on the web page, and we can leave comments on the web page, and we can upload media to the web page. If I use Gmail and you use Hotmail, we can still send email to each other, my friend. We can email. Because email is an open protocol. HTTP is an open protocol. The mechanism by which you are probably listening to my voice right now is RSS, real simple syndication. And you could be listening to my voice in Apple Podcasts or in Spotify. And you're going to listen to that same beautiful, sweet, silky voice. Because RSS is open. But if you have Facebook and I have Reddit, we no talk. We cannot communicate with each other. You need to sign up for a Reddit account to talk to me, and I need to sign up for a Facebook account to talk to you, and I'm going to tell you I'm not going to do it. So this is a way forward for social media, and I'm particularly interested in the governance idea, which is put in this mission statement here. And I don't think that this means government. I think this means like we need a governing body like web. What is it? What the fuck is the web governing body? ICANN is for domains, but it's the it's the governing body for the web that basically is like, hey, y'all, we're all from different countries and we're all from different technology platforms and companies, and we all just have to agree that HTTPS is going to be the version that we use, because then all our websites can talk to each other. So I think the point they're making is there needs to be some sort of governing body that agrees to standards so that these apps can function long term. And they're trying to raise $30 million or more or whatever. And I don't know if that's through donations or grants or foundations or nonprofits or what. So I need to know. We need to talk to Mallory, and I'm really excited to talk to her tomorrow. In the off chance that you are listening to this on Wednesday afternoon and you have questions or thoughts or comments or interests in this topic, please email me and or leave a comment on the Patreon or the Discord or social media, Blue Sky, of course, because I find this really fascinating. So that's Mallory. I think that was the stuff I wanted to cover with her. Why AT protocol and not ActivityPub? I don't know. But I guess if Blue Sky is the one that's hitting right now, and it seems to be, and that is built on this AT protocol, which I know nothing about, then maybe that is they're indicating that would be the framework for future apps. So let's do it. Let's rebuild social media in the image of the web and not in the image of for-profit tech companies. That's what we must do next. That's what we must do. So I'm very honored to be able to ask questions and amplify that message. And um, I would also love to make a financial contribution. Actually, so here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. Talk to Mallory tomorrow. Get that entire lowdown, and then if it all makes sense and it all feels like a viable plan forward, then I would like to contribute the entire month of February's Patreon revenue to Free Our Feeds. Yeah. So, and I don't mean that to say like go contribute on Patreon. If you want to support Free Our Feeds, don't contribute to Patreon, which then takes a cut, which then gives it to me, which then I donate. Just donate $1 to Free Our Feeds or whatever mechanism. But I would very much like to support the cause by featuring Mallory and then making a financial contribution that comes through the show. So I think that will be a plan. More on that soon. Just really excited to finally share 2 upcoming guests. We do not have dates on the books yet, but we're honing in on the dates. So stay tuned for that. One is here. I'll preface it by saying I love improv comedy podcasts. I listen to a lot of them, and I listen to a lot of episodes of a lot of them. I just find what improv comedians do to be extraordinary, and I find their relationship with their audience to be so wonderful and personal. And oh my God, I got to tell you this. The rise of improv comedy podcasts has been big in tandem with the rise of like D&D podcasts, Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, and those two are, the Venn diagram overlaps deeply, as you probably know, because D&D is so emergent and improvisational. It's not a board game where it's like roll 7 and move 7 spaces. It's like you can do whatever you want. You can say, I want to push this guy over, or I want to bash this door in. I want to wear this treasure chest on my head and jump around like a monkey. Like, you can do that, and then your dungeon master's like, all right, make a roll for perception, make a roll for strength to see if you do the thing you want to do. And it engenders a lot of improvisational play. And I actually I don't listen to any D&D podcasts. Perhaps I should. But I'm telling you this because friends of ours who are very into that went to Dimension 20, which is one of the biggest shows, and they went to a live performance here in New York. Now, here in New York City, we have Madison Square Garden, which is, I don't even know how many seats there are, but this is for like major market New York sports teams to play the sports. And it is for performing artists like Taylor Swift and Beyonce to sell out huge crowds. Okay? That is what this venue is for. And last week, our friends sent us a video from the upper deck of Madison Square Garden, where this arena of cheering psychotic fans were going bananas for a live D&D improv podcast that was happening way down, miles and miles down on the stage, far below of this concert arena. And I said, holy fuck. I cannot believe how big these shows are. I cannot believe how powerful that D&D improv podcasts are selling out stadiums in New York City. We've arrived. All that to say, one of my favorite improv shows. There's shows where it's like, oh, random people and characters and guests, or whatever, and then there's shows that are narrative, where everything the characters say and create in the moment becomes part of the story. It becomes canonical to the lore. And one of the shows that was really my entry point into this narrative improv space is a show called Hello from the Magic Tavern, which is about a guy from Chicago who falls through a portal behind a Burger King, and then he enters this fantasy world like a D&D, Tolkien, Narnia type world with dragons and goblins and wizards and knights and speaking of medieval history. And the show is him, a regular guy, and a wizard and a shape-shifting badger. And they travel around this fictional world, and they interview other creatures and people from the world, but those other creatures and people are played by also really extraordinary and hilarious improvisers and many like celebrity comedians, like major people. And they have been going for like 8 years, maybe 9. They just officially announced an animated TV show, probably, I mean, I assume on streaming, I don't know what platform it's going to be on, but they are working with a production company to turn what was always audio only into some season of animated television. And it's just such a wonderful show because it's so self-aware, it's so funny, and it can do anything and go anywhere. They do spin-off series, and it's just great because you're there to just hang out with the characters, and you're there to just laugh at the tropes of fantasy fiction, which we all know and love, and to make fun of those tropes. And also every couple episodes they're nudging the plot forward, they're nudging toward different characters and events. There's a whole meta a narrative that's going on. It's just to listen to it emerge organically over. I have probably been listening for 4 or 5 years or so. I just think it's cool. I just think there's these types of shows are becoming more popular, but they were really among the first to do it this way, I think. And so I am really, really thrilled to have Adil Rafai, who plays Chunt, the talking badger / shapeshifter on Hello from the Magic Tavern. He's a very generous guy. I had reached out to him a while back to ask about his work and his and just ask him questions about the evolution of the show and what, in relation to some projects that I was working on. And it was so, like, these guys are legit famous. I was like, hey, like, you don't know me, but I have this idea. What do you think about this? And we got on the phone, and he was really kind. And then I was like, by the way, I'm rebooting my other show, and I would love to talk about the origin story of Magic Tavern and what it was like in the early days. And so we're finally getting on the book. So I'm very, very excited to meet Adol face to face, over video chat here, and to just pick his brain about how improv has evolved and what the internet, they went through COVID. We all went through COVID. But the transition from doing comedy like in person in a studio to doing it virtually, and from what I understand, they've never gone back. Like they continue to do it online, which I understand from a production point of view does give you a lot. That does offer some flexibility in that you think that some of the magic could be lost by not being in person, and I think there's some of that. But there's production flexibility that makes things a fuck ton easier. And so I'm not surprised. I actually was surprised when he said they didn't go back, but now that the more I know, the less surprised I am. The more it makes sense to me. So I'm really excited to talk to Adol, and that will be maybe next week or the week after. And then one other guest to tease here is that I love video games. My other show that I co-host is Colette and Matt Have Entered the Chat, which is me and my co-host Colette talk about the video games we're playing and the video game news. And I'm very plugged into that culture, and I'm very plugged into games media, which has traditionally been, of course, magazines, and then games journalism websites, of course. And then over the last 10 years, there has really been this major shift from like, hey, these trusted journalistic sites that used to be magazines and now are online destinations. And hey, people, writers and editors from those sites have moved away from them for economic and other reasons to become influencers on other platforms like YouTube and Twitch, in tandem with the rise of like, hey, let's play this video game together and let me review and give you my first impressions, or here's a detailed review. And I'm just some person on YouTube, but wow, my vibe or my style or my, the intricacies of what I'm drilling down to in a game review or a tech review is very specific to a certain audience. And hey, my video, my podcast about games or the games industry has 500,000 views, which is, comparable to those legacy game sites. And one person who embodies that very much is a gentleman named Greg Miller, who, is really well known. You may be familiar with him. He had worked at IGN for many years. I think we crossed paths when he was at IGN, I'm pretty sure. And then they just celebrated their 10-year anniversary because he and his colleagues departed IGN and built Kind of Funny Games, which is this, sort of, I don't know what we call it, platform agnostic media company, which is like, hey, we are not necessarily going to be a website. We are going to be ourselves, our own social media people. And we're going to stream on YouTube, and we're going to do a podcast every day, and we're going to do game reviews, and we're going to have, direct advertising, and we're going to have Patreon supporters, and just they rebuilt the games media business model from scratch in the image of influencers and YouTubers, but with the journalistic rigor of the traditional sites. I guess sort of a hybrid, a personality-based games coverage outlet, rather than like, hey, here's a byline from a person you don't know who's writing 2,000 words about, Ocarina of Time or whatever. And they did it, and other outlets have done it too, but Kind of Funny is so visible, and Greg has become, a presenter and he does voiceover for games, and he's written a children's book, and his face is he's the front man for a lot of their content, podcasts and videos and streams. So he, again, just a really generous guy. I've collaborated with him in the past, and super busy, as you would imagine. So we're pinning down times to get him on the show. But I am very excited to talk to him. I've never really sat down and picked his brain about the last 10 years. So very excited to bring you those episodes. And of course, those episodes would not be possible without the generous support of patrons like you. Many patrons contribute at various levels, and I do want to always single out the tier that gets their name read on the program every single week. That is the executive producer tier at the $10 or more level per month. And those people are Dominic Kerr, Duran, William, and of course, the incomparable I almost said Bowie. But it's Bowie, like David Bowie. Bowie barks. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and hits like buttons and share buttons and, subscribes to the Patreon feed for free or otherwise. It means a lot. And hey, maybe we can rustle up some cash to free our feeds come next week. 2 weeks probably, because I'm going to publish Jason's episode next Wednesday. For now, I will leave you with one story that has been dominating the news this week, the tech news anyway, not the real news. Y'all heard about these LLMs, these artificial intelligences, the AI? Yeah, you can't throw a dead cat without hitting some bullshit AI. Like literally every fucking company you interact with. I could be buying olive oil at the supermarket, and then the cash register's like, hey, do you check out our AI assistant to help you buy olive oil better? No, man, I just want to give money and walk away from the store. That's why I really like the story, because tech stocks, the tech companies that have been pouring gajillions of fucking dollars into their chatbots and their LLMs, large language models, your OpenAIs, your Microsofts, your Metas, your Microsofts, your Nvidias. Did I say Nvidia already? Their stocks took a massive tumble. I think it was like $1 trillion of value. I'm putting value in quotes, air quotes for audio only listeners. Because a comparably very small tech startup in China released, or I don't know if it was a release or like an update to their model called DeepSeek. And if their claims are to be believed, I think some of it still needs to be vetted out and figured out. But the premise here is that they have trained an LLM that is theoretically better and more sophisticated and larger and more robust for a fraction of the cost of what OpenAI and other, OpenAI being the makers of ChatGPT. I'm sure you know that, but just for clarity's sake. The chat GPTs and the co-pilots of the world are the ones where it's like, these are going to be the future of AI and we're doing all this innovation. And some guy, some team out of China is like, yeah, we made a better one for like $5 million. And the entire tech industry shit their fucking pants. Quoting, I think this was a Forbes article, DeepSeek said training one of its latest models cost $5.6 million, which would be much less than the $100 million to $1 billion that one AI chief executive estimated it cost to build a model last year. So again, US companies spending billions and billions to try to win the race to AI, and this very small Chinese company being like, we got it. I've seen this being compared to a Sputnik moment, which is, that predates my time. But if you are younger than me, if you're a Gen Alpha, if you're a Gen Beta, if you're 4 years old and you're listening to this podcast, here's what Sputnik is. When the US was trying to achieve dominance in the space race and get their satellites up and get to the moon faster than Russia, their competitor, Russia launched a satellite named Sputnik and beat America to the punch. And it was a major technological innovation. And it kind of showed that the Russians were way ahead in this technology than the US thought they were. And I guess the U.S. eventually got to the moon. Obviously, they got to the moon first, and they beat them in a lot of other ways. But at that moment, should have looked up what year. I don't remember what year Sputnik was. Early '60s, perhaps. It was like, oh shit, they are way better at this than we are. That was the Sputnik moment, and clearly, well, not clearly. If this is vetted out to be demonstrably better than ChatGPT and co, and built for substantially not only trained for substantially less dollars, but here's the thing I was learning today while researching it. The current models of US companies rely on massive data centers, massive server farms that are crunching gajillions and gajillions of equations every second. This is the cloud, right? So uploading, asking ChatGPT to do something for you, routes the data to data centers, and then it's like processing all of human knowledge and then spits out a response. And that takes a lot of computational power, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of maintenance on the machines that have to crank out these algorithms. It takes a lot of, like raw power, which is probably an environmental concern in the long haul, I suppose. And I think what is notable about DeepSeek is that it theoretically can be run like on a local machine. Like, I don't know if you're gonna be running DeepSeek on your laptop today, but like you may not need a server farm to run a large language model in the foreseeable future if this DeepSeek stuff is to be believed. And that is radical. I don't just mean it's cool. I mean, it is a radical and monumental technological breakthrough, I suppose. And it has two ramifications that I'm fascinated with. One is just way cheaper. Like, it's just way cheaper, better for the environment, less computers, less parts, less energy, and it's more portable, meaning regular people could access it much easier. Though putting AI, synthetic media generation tools in the hands of everyone, that's probably not a great idea either, but it's going to happen regardless. But number two is that, and this gets back to what I was talking about earlier with Free Our Feeds and Mallory and so forth. Imagine if you could utilize tools, whether they be social media or large language models or AI models or synthesis models, but you did not have to give all your fucking data to a company, to a corporation, who then stores it and trains on it and sells it from their massive data farms. Like, this is massive because there's only like 3 to 4 companies on planet Earth who can do this kind of work. And then here's this little Chinese startup being like, hey man, just throw this on your computer and it'll do the exact same thing, but it's better. That ethical ramifications of AI aside, that could be better. That could be a better way forward. And it could be a way to get away from the monopolistic cloud computing structure that US companies have built for this type of work. So, yeah, look, I'm not an expert. I'm just reading and watching and listening to the things that smarter people are talking about with regard to DeepSeek and what's next. I am hearing people are like, yeah, I downloaded it and I ran it and it was pretty good. It did all the things ChatGPT does, but I didn't have to do it online. I could just do it locally. And that's, it's major. It's major. And then just to put a coda on it, watching all these tech company fuckheads shit their pants and lose billions of dollars, air quotes, magical, theoretical, imaginary dollars, of course, is just great. Is great. And then there's another aspect to it of like, hey, should we be downloading and installing Chinese AI onto our laptops? We'll figure that out. Don't do it now, but maybe once it's commoditized and streamlined. Hey man, talk to someone who knows what they're talking about. I'm not that guy, but I find it interesting. Eagle-eyed listener and Patreon supporter Evan sent over a TechCrunch article and I'm just going to read you the headline here. David Sachs claims there's substantial evidence that DeepSeek used OpenAI's models to train its own. I did not know who David Sachs was, but here you are. David Sachs, Trump's AI and crypto czar. Should we stop using the word czar to refer to people in charge of federal institutions? Because, like, Russian czars were not the good guys, I don't think. I don't think they were the people who were, like, helping people and making life better for the world. So, like, just call it, well, don't call it chief. That's not a good word either. Just call it a, you know, big boss. Just call it boss baby. Don't say czar. David Sachs, Trump's AI and crypto czar, said in an interview with Fox on Tuesday that there's substantial evidence that Chinese AI company DeepSeek distilled knowledge from OpenAI's AI models, a process that Sachs compared to theft. Sachs, who didn't cite the source of this, quote, evidence, suggests that DeepSeek used responses from OpenAI models to train its own. Quote, I don't think OpenAI is very happy about this, end quote. DeepSeek, which went viral this week for its openly available, highly performant models and free chat apps, is being looked at with increasing scrutiny, by U.S. government officials. According to Reuters, the National Security Council, the U.S. body that advises the president on foreign policy and national security, is reviewing the implications of DeepSeek's apps, which topped the Apple App Store this past weekend. Thank you, Evan, for sending this article my way, because it's fantastic that a company that was built on stealing content from everyone on Earth is now upset that another company stole their model to train its better model. So if you need something to lift your spirits, if you need something to cheer for, take a little joy in the fact that a bunch of tech billionaires just shit their pants this week and are probably scrambling to reassess and rebuild their entire plan for 2025. As always, I implore you to rewind your podcasts after you listen to them. Be kind. It's the right thing to do. And I will talk at you in 1 week's time.